Alright, now here we are one turn away from having our National College completed, and you might notice that the game looks a little bit differently than it did just a moment ago. You see, although that game would have been fine for a tutorial, I thought it was going to be a little bit boring seeing as how I was stuck on an island with only 2 other civilizations, so I decided to re-game and redo everything that I just did, only in a different environment. And as you can see here, the difference is I have friends. Yeah, go figure. There are actually more than 2 other civilizations in my world. I haven't found everyone yet. As you can see, I'm still kind of hunting them down, so bear with me on that one. Granted, that process got cut a little bit short because my scout got killed. However, we have not done anything that we haven't already done. We have our 3 cities. We went tradition, which we just finished. Our National College is being finished next turn. I have a bowman, which I have not upgraded to a composite bowman just yet. So that's one little difference. I've got a spearman in this city. I've got a warrior coming back to my main of Babylon. My bowman will be in Akkad. I am currently trading with the Russians, who I do not understand exactly what they're doing settling so close to one another. That is incredibly strange. But hey, if that's what they want to do, they can go ahead and do that. I've got the Koreans in my game, we have the Moroccans over here as well, and of course Poland, good old Casimir. And that rounds out who I've seen thus far. Alright, there you can see our National College is now done. We now have 60 science per turn on turn 158, that's not bad. Other game was delayed a little bit longer because we did have a teensy-weensy little war that we had to defend ourselves against. And now, as you can see, we have like all these other techs as per usual, and we are making our way not along the bottom of the tree, because that's more aggressive and conquering. We don't really want to do that at the moment. We're going to go make our way over towards education, because our next priority as a science civ, going for a science victory, is to make our way to our next science building. Makes perfect sense, I would think. And that is going to be our university. If we get universities everywhere, then we can go and build Oxford. The university gives plus 33% science, which is really, really nice, and it gives me the ability to put people working in there, which we will talk about more later. And Oxford, of course, gives me, as you can see, more science, but it also gives me a free technology, which is really, really cool. So we are interested in getting theology, civil service, and then researching education. Alright, so one thing I want to discuss right now is this little diplomacy screen. I went over to my little friend over here in Poland. I clicked on his name, or alternatively I could have gone up here. Since I'm using the enhanced user interface, I could have clicked on his name over there. And since there are other people in this particular game, I have the option of actually interacting with them in a more meaningful way. Like right now, I'm going science. As a result, I don't really want to make an army, and the result of that, I don't really need a whole lot of iron. So if I wanted to sell iron, let's say 5 of them and leave myself 1 for whatever reason, I ask him the simple question, what will he give me for it? I can see that he's willing to give me 6 gold per turn. That is really, really interesting. I might even be able to get 7 out of him, who knows? Now, the reason why it is good to get declarations of friendship with other people is because, let's say, okay, Koreans will not want it at all, but let's just go ahead and say maybe they did. Is there any chance that you actually want this? No, there isn't. But since I'm friendly with them, if for example they had a lot of gold, I could actually ask for them for the gold they have and not just the per turn gold, and I can get 1 lump sum for what I'm giving them, which is really, really cool. Unfortunately, they're going for a science victory, same as I am, and as a result of that, they're not really interested in gold. The Moroccans, on the other hand, they're a little bit more aggressive, so I could probably trade it with them. But they have enough problems, and quite frankly, I don't think I want to do that. I'm actually going to give it to them, because they're making a ton of gold per turn. I kind of want a little piece of that action, if you know what I'm saying. 7 gold per turn? That worked. Alright, so that's 7 gold per turn for 5 iron that I wasn't going to use anyway. As a result, we're now at 17, and they've dropped down to 20. Not bad at all. Not bad at all. Now, I do want to say that if someone comes by and pillages that tile, that deal kind of goes away, and they're not exactly going to be too pleased about that, so do beware of your tiles. Do not want to piss people off.
جيت وأنا كل أمل باش نوصلوا لشي اتفاق.
Okay, so we have a cotton available. I'm not entirely certain how many cotton we have available. It looks like, does he just want our last one? Yes, I do have 2 available, and he wants to give me 62 gold and 6 gold per turn. How much does he have total? He has 130 and 6. He wants to give me all of his gold per turn for my cotton. I would feel like a little bit of a dick to accept all of his money, but nobody else. He's the only option. I'll do it.
جيت وأنا كل
Yeah,
أمل
give me everything you got,
باش
pal.
نوصلوا لشي اتفاق.
Alright, now we're at 23 gold per turn, which is kind of nice, and we got a quick hit of 62. So as a result, I can go and I can purchase, you know, some units or buildings that maybe I was interested in. Now, as it turns out, I'm not actually interested in doing any of that. There's also a lot of wonders over here that I could build. Not really interested in building any of that either because we're focusing on our science, and that does not mean you have to get a wonder. So don't worry about that. You can win a science victory without getting, like, most of these wonders. The ones that any player can build, we're going to be building those in a little bit, but for now we're a-okay, so I'm not really going to focus on them too much. I could probably grab the Oracle if I really wanted to. Maybe in another game I'll do a tutorial on how to grab or how to pick which wonders you want to get and how to focus on going about grabbing those. So here's the thing that's to take note of. The different city-states will periodically give you different, you know, little quests to get favor with them, and some of them are really, really easy. Like this one just wants me to complete a land or sea trade route to their city, and since I'm getting them anyway, I mean, it's not the best gold in the world, but, you know, an extra 4 gold just to be more friendly with them, there's no real reason not to do it, so I will go ahead and set up that, little route to them, because it may even give me an alliance. Who knows? Who knows? At best, it gives me alliance. At worst, I get to be friends with them for a little bit longer. And there's no reason really to turn that down. Alright, so it appears we did actually get La Venta as an ally. That was a little bit surprising. I didn't actually quite think it would boost us up all the way to a 75 alliance, but it did. So we got an alliance, and a little bit more gold for nothing, really. I mean, that was just free. So when you have things like that, trade routes and whatever popping up, make sure you take a look around you, see if maybe you can't complete a deal. Alright, so now that we are working on education, there are a few things that we need to consider. One, we only have 3 cities right now, and that is actually completely fine for the beginning of the game. You will notice that you are not the highest in population. We're a little bit above average. That's about the only place we really need to be right now. However, I do want another city at some point, and I have to decide when I'm going to do that. I might be tempted to do it now, because you might be running out of things that you really want to build right now, and you might think to yourself, you know, I think I really want to go ahead and do that. I mean, why not, right? Well, the reason why we are not actually going to do that is because I think I want to get my universities in Oxford up before getting my 4th city. Otherwise, that new city I found would have to make a library and then a university before I can build my Oxford. And I really want to get these two as fast as possible. So it may mean losing out. Not gonna lie, it may mean losing out on some prime real estate. But I'm not going to concern myself too terribly much, because there is a little bit of incentive to go and actually settle over here as well, because I see, you know, I see some production tiles, I see a new luxury resource. I can see a good reason for maybe settling somewhere over here just to go grab that and connecting everybody up. I mean, it's got, you know, it's got bison, it's got sheep, it's got some horses, it's got a bunch of stone, new resource. Not sure if the Russians would be the most happy people about me doing that, but Screw 'em. And there's exactly what I was talking about. The Koreans just put up their third city, Jeonju, right pretty much in the area that I was going to be going after. So it wouldn't have mattered anyway. Alright, so one thing I want to speak on right now is the fact that we had something really cool happen this turn, and that is we completed a road between Babylon and Akkad. Now the result of this, can I see it here? Yes, the result of here is I have 7.1 gold from city connections between your cities and your capital. So here's the deal with that. Yes, it does take gold to establish a connection to maintain the road between your cities and your capital. However, you do get gold from doing so. And later on, and by later on I mean fairly shortly, I think. Well, not shortly, but in the future. We're probably going to take commerce to get wagon trains, which decreases the maintenance cost of that by 50%, so the road becomes even cheaper. Alright, at this point I'm pretty much going to stop everything that I'm doing, and I am going to begin work on universities in all of my cities, which is not bad. We're under 200 turns, and we are actually going after universities in all 3 of our cities. Now, they don't have to get done all at the same time. I'm not going to prioritize them over markets, for example, because I do like the extra cash. Saying that out loud, however, I am again changing my mind. And now that we have that, you might say, okay, what's the next one we're going to do? What's the next building or tech we should go after for science? And the answer to that would really be astronomy. And after that, I guess it would be scientific theory for public schools. However, we can't just go directly to that, unfortunately. There's a lot of really great little goodies we want to get our little hands on before we do such things. For example, it's a little bit embarrassing that we do have education, we have universities, and yet the concept of water frightens us because we have not unlocked the ability for our units to cross water tiles. Ooh, that's pretty bad. Not gonna lie, that's pretty bad. There's really no reason to have skipped it other than the fact that I'm not on the water, so I haven't actually had to build anything out in the water, so I didn't really care. But I will go ahead and do that because being able to go and not drown in a puddle of water is kind of a good thing. After that, we'll probably go after guilds. Guilds, chivalry, banking. I may skip the bottom text completely on this difficulty. We might not need them. I haven't decided yet. No, I'm lying. We will pick up metal casting because I'm not a complete moron. I don't want to cross the water yet. We're going to go for metal casting first. And the reason why I say we're going for metal casting, not because I want swordsmen or forges or any of this crap, but the workshops are pretty cool because they give plus 10% production. That's not a plus 10 production, that's just a 10% production, which really, really goes there very nicely for what you want to do. So it's plus 2 hammers and 10% production in the city that we build it in. That is amazing, oh my god. And these little jackasses better not steal this from me or I will be pissed. Alright, so another thing that's really, really cool about actually being friends with someone is that I have the opportunity to make research agreements, which I'm actually doing right now with Korea, of all people. The people who are also trying to go for a science victory. Yeah, I've got a research agreement with them. Yeah, it's amazing. They got universities too, I guess. But essentially, who can I use for a demonstration of this? These guys. If we both had enough money in order to do this, for example, I could ask for a research agreement, which means after 45 turns, at the cost of 300 gold, we get a huge tech bonus. I can't do it with him because we are unfortunately both poor. I'll be getting rid of that next turn. Him, not so much. Alright, so there's one other thing that I want to point out. We are all sitting here being nice and friendly as, you know, little peas in a pod and all that good garbage. Might be thinking to yourself, man, this is a pretty boring game so far. All we're doing is just kind of building some buildings and racing each other to get decent spots. However, there are possible ways to throw little wrenches into the works, so to speak. For example, let's say I thought the Moroccans were getting a little bit too uppity, but I didn't want to take care of them myself. I could
Pozdrawiam cię.
ask them to declare war on people
Zamieniam się w
and
słuch.
see what they would want to give me for it.
Jak ci się podoba moja
If
oferta?
they're interested in doing so, you might be able to actually strike a bit of a better deal. Right now, he wants marble, iron, and gold per turn. It's interesting. It's very, very interesting. That is definitely something that I could really do if I so felt inclined.
تحياتي.
Looks like
جيت وأنا كل
everybody's
أمل
willing to go to war.
باش
I
نوصلوا
could
شي
even
اتفاق.
have him, and this is actually a really good tactic. I could even have him, for example, declare war on the Koreans, not because I think they'll wipe each other out, but pretty much because if I thought that the Koreans were gaining on me in technology a little bit too much, then I might want to throw a little wrench into their works. That would be a really, really great way of doing so. Just be like, hey, you guys, do you want to go to war and, just take over anything you can? And you might be able to get that going. Now, in a later tutorial, I will tell you how to do that yourself and how to balance both units as well as tech, so you don't fall behind while you're going to war. But that's not the scope of this particular tutorial. That will be my next one, very, very likely. But while you're learning out how to do a normal game, if you wanted to, make things a bit more interesting by having two people fight at it and, just see who wins, that's one thing you could do just to make your life a little bit more entertaining. Because you, believe it or not, do not take a hit from bribing other people to go to war. That is one major fault of this game. The fact that you tell someone to go to war, the fact that they go to war, the fact they only went to war because you're giving them money and resources and all of this wonderful stuff has absolutely no bearing on you as a civilization. Another thing that I'm doing right now is because I have my empire, growing, my borders growing, the tiles that I'm working growing, I actually have my units no longer in my city, but I'm getting a little bit of extra vision on what's around my city. As we can see here, I've got my bowmen over here kind of keeping an eye on what's over on my eastern side. I've got my composite bowmen over here keeping an eye on my western side. If any barbarians come at me, I have a bit more of an advance notice, so you don't get tiles constantly being burned and surprised as barbarians come in from places that you can't see. Just trying to maximize my vision. Really cheap units are good for that. Alright, so casting is done, which means we can take another technology right now. I am leaning towards ironworks and then continuing on in that way. That's actually incredibly tempting, not gonna lie. Ironworks increases, check this out. Ironworks increases production by 8. As long as all of your cities have workshops. That is amazing. I mean, the workshop in and of itself gives us 10% production, but then you get an extra hit of production on top of that. That is really, really nice. Now that we have our university done, it is also important to note the right-hand side. You can see this did it for me because I'm on default focus. But I currently have 2 people working that university, and that means I'm getting extra science, because you can look at the science in the city, 64 right now. You can see every specialist here is worth 5.49 science. So now we're at 69, now we're at 75, and almost at 100 science per turn. That is an insane amount of science, but because we are working that, we also have great scientist points, which is over here. We're going to be earning great scientists now because of that. We really, really want those. But as for what to make, I'm just going to make sure that we can produce things fairly quickly. It keeps us on the up and up. So I'm going to do the following. I'm going to do a caravanserai to make certain that my main city can trade with whatever it wants to and get a higher gold percentage as a result. I'm also going to do a workshop really quick. At that point, I'm probably going to be close. Yeah, I'm going to be very, very close to building Oxford at that point. After that, we're probably going to want to go for some extra happiness. So building things like the Colosseum are going to be a definite priority soon.
You made an instrument.
And now that optics is done, we'll go back and pretend that we aren't backwards barbarians and grab machinery. All of this is going to be very, very useful for later on down the road when it costs more and more hammers to actually build something. Having that ironworks up is going to be instrumental. Plus, if we have an aggressive civilization, we want an extra way of defending ourselves besides composite bowmen that we've been having since the classical era, but now we want a different unit to defend ourselves, and the crossbowmen will do just nicely. Now, one thing you've noticed is we do have an awful lot of money saved up at this point. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. That's okay. As long as you have your routes nice and up, that's a good thing. As long as you are trading off luxury resources that you have more than one of, like I am doing, that's also a good thing. So, my recommendation for places to put your gold at, I really don't have any interest in putting it towards a unit right now. They don't really take that long to train regardless. This city has a lot of production, not really interested in making it even better. My outer cities, on the other hand, are not doing so well, so improving their situation is something that I am interested in. So the workshop, for example, which we're going to be needing for ironworks, takes 20 turns, or I can just buy one right now for 780 gold. That puts him up to 11 plus 10%, so that's going to be what, 12? 0.1, okay, shoot me. And as a result, that suddenly drastically decreases. They were like 20 and like 19 or something, now they're 13, so that little bit definitely helps. One thing that I will point out is a little bit annoying about playing on some of these easier difficulties is right now I do have things that I could trade away for extra happiness. I could buy luxury resources from people, for example. Take Moscow, for example. They should have at the very least 3 sources of crabs, but I can hover over their name and I see that the Russians don't seem to have even a single source of crabs. So what the heck they are doing is completely and utterly beyond me, but sadly it does mean I can't get trade on that I should be able to get, and that's the result of the easier difficulties that you are in fact playing on. It's irritating, but it's true. Now, that's not the end of the world, even though it will feel like it occasionally, because we are at 4 happiness and falling. That is pretty rough. That is pretty rough. On the bright side, we are going to get Pagoda in 15 turns, and we are going to start building Colosseums and the like. In fact, since we are good on money, I'm even going to put the Colosseum at the front of the queue because those are important to keep our empire happy. So let's talk a little bit more about happiness. One way, of course, is to do what I'm doing right now and to make certain that you put up your happy buildings, things like that. Another way to do it, of course, is to identify the mercantile city-states and try to be their best friend. For example, I mentioned in like 12 turns or something like that. I don't know. How many turns was it? In 13 turns, I'll have a great scientist, which means I will be able to complete that. That'll give me some happiness with them. They will, or some influence with them, and they will then turn around and use that to make my words hard. Oh man, what do I do? And to make my empire a little bit happier. After that, I can probably dump some money into them and see if I can't get an alliance with them and get even more happiness, these luxury resources. Now, if you don't have access to a mercantile city-state, just hunt around and see what people have. For example, they've got dye, so if I wanted to become allies with them, they would give me their dye tile, which is not bad. I get happiness from there. Quebec has furs, I can get happiness out of that. So just kind of hunt around. If you form an alliance, you know, you'll get their luxury resource, and that'll in turn mean happiness for your empire. But you might want to prioritize the mercantile so your cities can keep growing.
Would you be interested in a trade agreement with England?
So here's what I was referring to. She's apparently willing to go to war with the Mayans for cotton and 1 gold per turn. and open borders, but who cares about that? I think I'm actually going to do that for the simple fact that she is closest to me in technology, and distracting her isn't that bad of an idea. Now, you don't have to do any of this crap in your own games. I'm just doing this one for a little bit of a laugh. Kind of like, haha, I just got you killed. Oh my god, wasn't that a knee slapper? Now, maybe nothing gets done over here, maybe something is done, but I know that she's going to have to rethink what she's doing right now, and deal with Pakal, which might mean good things for me.
Would you be interested in a
Fun
trade
fact,
agreement
now
with
that
England?
she's actually at war, she also wants strategic resources such as iron, so she can fund her war. Kinda makes you feel really, really scummy when you're like, hey, how about you take this to go to war? And they accept, like, hey, now that you're at war, you know what you really want? I bet you really want these resources.
جيت وأنا
It's
كل
like,
أمل
I don't really
باش
want you
نوصلوا
to
شي
be a
اتفاق.
drug addict, but now that you are a drug addict, you know, I got a lot of drugs I can sell ya. Just saying, dude, just saying. So right now I'm sitting here, I see that I'm a tech leader, so I'm thinking about actually going after physics. For Notre Dame, the 10 happiness would be really, really nice. If you don't feel like going after Notre Dame right now, then you probably want to go grab compass and astronomy if you have anything on a mountain tile. Like a city against here or the COD against that mountain tile. I can build an observatory there. And that'd be really, really good. I'm actually going to delay it on a gamble that I can get, that I can go and actually grab the Notre Dame, because maybe I can, maybe I can't. Alright, so fun turn. We have a great scientist. Samarkand recognized our great scientist. We have 40 friendship with them as a result. Now, at the current, I think I am going to wait a couple of more turns, and then I'm going to give them 1,000 gold for a full-on alliance with them, because I don't have mercantile, I'll have jewelry and pearls, and then most of my gold will be going towards keeping them nice and happy with me. That is my current... Oh, nothing over there. That is my current goal at the moment. Now, for this scientist, I've got a few choices where I could place him. Alright, so a little bit of a delay, but we're finally done with our university in our third city. So we will commence building the Oxford University right now. We're going to give it priority to our workshop. And that will be taking place in our capital, because it has the most amount of, well, everything right now. Our great scientist that we got out of Babylon, I'm also going to put him here. I do not want him on this tile, because this tile can give me up to 4 food, I think. Yes, that can give me 4 food, that can give me 4 food. So I don't really want to trade that off. But here, 2 food and 8 science isn't too bad. So I will do that. Unfortunately, it took off some of this to go there. I don't like that, but we have to live with it for the moment. And our next great scientist is going to be in 26 turns, it looks like. Yes, it will. So, you'll notice that as you make great scientists, or any great person, it takes longer and longer to get your next one. That's why they also give you things like this. Garden, building them, equals 25% great people generation in this city, so this would generate 25% faster. So as long as you build those, you kind of keep up with the pace, so to speak. By the way, we do have that 1,000 gold. So I will use it to purchase an alliance with Samarkand. That puts me at 100 alliance. We go up to 16 happiness because allying with a city-state gives me... Well, let's see what it gives me. What will it give me? Stop it. I'm getting 3 happiness for them, but I'm also getting pearls and jewelry. So that's 3 happiness plus 2 luxury resources. Man, oh man, do I love mercantile. So that right there is going to fund our expansion right now as we do cool things like get up museums and all that good stuff. but it also means that we're now making gold in part for Samarkand, because we need to keep this up whenever possible. So things that I might want to consider doing is getting spice to do the quest to get this up higher. Unfortunately, I don't think anybody's got spice, so that's going to be difficult to do. Morocco does. I might be able to get him a luxury resource and money? Might be able to pay for that one. We'll have to see, Alright, that gives me physics. So I'm going to lazily go after Notre Dame, after Oxford. Maybe we get it, maybe we probably won't get it. But, you know, why not try for it? Why not try for it if you got nothing better to do right now? So right now it looks like astronomy is our next goal, because that is our next science building and we can defend ourselves with machinery. Printing press is not really interesting to me right now, simply because, yeah, the zoo is happiness, and if I was having more happy problems, I'd probably prioritize it, but we just solved that, so I'm going to go back towards my science. In other words, everything I'm doing for a reason. Okay, so unfortunately the war with the Mayans didn't really amount to very much. Take that back. I think she conquered one of the Mayan cities. They're down to 2 cities, and she is up to 5 cities. Yeah, I think... Yup. Elizabeth. The English did take out Tikal. So that was interesting. Alright. I guess I kept her busy for a little while. Also gave her warmongering penalties with everybody else in the game, so hope that was enjoyable. Okay, now I'm just feeling guilty. Because this turn, Casimir just declared war on Pakal. He smells blood! Oh man, I feel so bad. What did I do? What did I do? I didn't do it. Okay, so she weakened him enough that even Casimir's like, I smelled blood. So he's dead. I apologize, man. I had people go to war with you just as a joke, and they took it slightly too far. They took it way too far. On the bright side, we're doing great. Up to 141 science per turn. Ish. It kind of flip-flops back and forth. Alright, so in exchange for... Barbarian. No, not in exchange for barbarians. I do wonder where he actually came from. But yes, in exchange for us completing Oxford, we now get a free technology. Generally speaking, technologies, you want to be very, very careful. You don't want to pick one that's going to take you only 4 turns left to complete. Doesn't make sense. Unfortunately, not a whole lot of them are too expensive. I think right now we are going to go with acoustics. I'm a little bit confused as to why I can't do printing press. So I don't have chivalry. Okay, that makes sense. So yeah, we might as well go ahead and grab the one that takes the most amount of turns. That right now is acoustics. We don't really need steel for anything. I could grab chivalry and it unlocks banking, which is actually a good argument now that I think about it. Because we're not going to go for architecture yet. I do want banking, because we're going to go over to industrialization and scientific theory around the same time. But we need to do either or, but this gives me another trade route. That is really, really tempting. Again! Such temptation. Such wow. Oh my. Whatever. I'll do acoustics. Chivalry is only 6 turns. I don't care. I say as I still sit here staring at it. Yeah, I don't think it really matters. Alright, we got acoustics. Woot, go us. So we now have 30 technologies. Poland's got 26. Elizabeth is 28. 23 over there. 24 for the guy who's going science. Catherine's 23. Pakal is so out of his game, it's funny. He's at war with way too many people. He just keeps Poor guy. I feel really bad for him. I really do. But we also have a spy being recruited. Now here's a fun fact. Normally you would want to go and spy on a person with the highest amount of science. Right now that is us. So what we're going to do instead is kind of save us a little bit of money. Keep in mind that we are currently in Samarkand. We are currently at allies with Samarkand, right? We really want to hold on to that alliance because, oh my god, it's doing wonders for us. So if we put our spy in Samarkand, that's going to help us keep our alliance there. It's a really weird mechanic. I mean, I would have thought that maybe a diplomat would have accomplished that, but you can't put a diplomat in a city-state, so I guess you just put your spy there. That way, maybe we don't just keep sending them 1,000 gold every, I don't know, couple of turns. So we can go back to using our gold for other things. Now, I think that's going to be it for this particular section. We will continue the game as we just march toward a scientific victory. It's not going to be that difficult. The most important thing is that you're always realizing how exactly we are going about doing what we're doing, what we are just completely bypassing to get to what we want. All of that good stuff. Because the only way you can really lose this game is if you start getting distracted and doing things that just don't make any sense. Like if we try to build every wonder in the game and as a result our science starts falling, then maybe Elizabeth would have been tech leader right now. That would be not the end of the world, but it would be kind of annoying too. If we built the lighthouse for no frigging reason because we have nothing in the water to actually work, that wouldn't make much sense. Barracks, despite not being at war, wouldn't have made much sense. Walls, despite not having to need defense, again, wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. I'm even going light on our army right now because I just don't see threats from anyone. No one is coveting our lands. We have a bunch of friendly people to our west. I mean, it's just smooth sailing. So continue next time for more smooth sailing.